Hey, welcome again to another episode of Two Dumbbells and a Microphone. I am DJ Moore.
That's right, and I'm Joey Dussel.
This is episode 17, a continuum to 16. That was the how. He's laughing because we've already recorded 2 minutes, we thought, and we actually weren't recording.
Yep.
So we had to start all over, so it's pretty funny that we
Yeah.
had to redo things.
We're definitely amateurs, and we're definitely having fun, so good reminder today with a little blooper reel.
It is part of the process of getting better at something. Is like you think you have it dialed in, and then every now and then we didn't turn things on.
Yep.
This happens.
Oh boy. Wow.
No big deal. It's the power of editing right here.
Yeah.
But we're gonna let you know how we goofed up. It's funny. So, episode 17.
Let's hit it.
It's the why to the how.
Right.
And I think this was important from your standpoint, telling people that we really need to tell them the whys behind things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have things explained better.
Yeah.
Right. It's more now that we have to describe the actions behind things, and we want to share why with you today, and we want to keep it short, 30 minutes or less.
Yeah. It's good reminders, definitely. So we'll keep things tight before it gets too hot or the podcast gets too lengthy. But we want to pick up where we left off, which was episode 16. So if you haven't listened to that one already, I would recommend starting there. Basically, we were thinking about the concept of how to keep our workout efforts, our health and fitness efforts going. How do we maintain and make sure that we can, really have a lifetime of health and wellness? And so when we were looking at episode 16 and the topics that we found, there was really these two broad categories, the hows and the whys. There was things that really helped us to keep things going, and then there was things that were like reasons why we would keep things going.
Right.
Yeah, and so today, episode 17, we're going to pick up where we left off from 16. We have maybe 2 points that we want to touch on, and then we'll get into really the why of keeping things going. And as we get through today, like we talked about last time, we really want to make sure that we're sharing real world actionable advice, things that matter for normal people.
The things that we give our clients.
Yeah.
Currently, yeah. So we're going to give you the same information I give the ones in person.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were going with that.
No, that's okay. That works, man. No worries. We're having a good time today. And so as we're coming through, I hope that energy, as we go on to this topic, that's a good energy to bring into it, because a lot of times with health and wellness, it can get, a little bit overwhelming, especially when we talk about the medical side of stuff, and I don't want anybody to be thinking about this in, too scary of a way, but one of the big things that we'll talk about today really touches on that.
Yeah.
So,
the seriousness of what we're talking about. It is tough. We do sound serious, but to be all honest, this is really lighthearted too. I want it to be lighthearted. As your journey through things, it's not to take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Not unless your health is at jeopardy, obviously. But we also have a good time when I train and joke around and mess around. It's not all serious. And you're right. We need to make sure that they understand. It's like as you journey through this, it's okay to have a joke or two.
Yeah, good reminder.
And laugh at yourself or fail at something and have a good giggle at it, because well, it's okay to suck at something when you're new at it or working to get better at something. It's okay to not be good.
That's part of it. And I think people, this is a great time for a reminder. If you haven't listened already, check out our episode on counterculture, because we talk about this a lot. But, there's quite a bit of emotional baggage in the health and fitness industry, and personal trainers are even taught to kind of pick on that stuff in the sales process. And so we just want to make sure, another reminder right off the top that we're not trying to bring any of that into today's conversation.
Yeah. We're not like drill instructors,
right?
As type of coaches or trainers. We're not like that at all. Matter of fact, I prefer to kind of joke around and have a good time with you while we train, because it kind of takes your mind off things if you can joke about stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when they tip over or something, when they're doing something. Instead of like, oh, you can get this, I'll say things like, yeah, that's funny, huh? It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, and I think that's a great segue for today. We're talking about keeping things going and having that enjoyment as part of your process. I think it's critical, because you can't do boot camp for your entire military career, right? It's a different.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to have some kind of like wholesale change where you're going to have this daily regimen and all this guidance basically forcing you to do all these things, Well, of course, that changes away as soon as we're out of that scenario.
That's right.
And so I think fitness kind of got caught up in this, where it was like, we even see promotions. Oh, it's a boot camp. You can come in for X number of times per week, this many weeks in a row, and when it's done, it's done. But that doesn't really give us any continuance. There's no way for us to continue afterwards and maintain any results that you've achieved.
Right. Well, just, I'm not going to pick on CrossFit, but I'll give it as an example.
Okay.
I mean, you can do a lot of CrossFit, for a year, maybe 2 years. Well, you can't do that forever. You have to back away and train in other styles and fashions to keep that kind of thing going. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there just going to disagree with me.
Go for it.
Now they're going to be like, well, I can do CrossFit for life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, you could do the exercises for life, but maybe not at that intensity for life. And nor do I think you should do it that intense every day.
Yeah.
Because we talked about healing times and stuff like that in previous episodes. So what you're saying to me is like, there's got to be some change in here.
Yeah.
Right. And what we do is for our clients is I actually do the same thing. I change that type of momentum and change that type of training all week for them.
Yeah. See, perfect. You said it right there, which is that if you're in that, basically too hard type of workout, you can't keep up that pace. And if you fall off your pace because, an injury or just because the sheer challenge of what you're doing,
tired of it.
Yeah, you get tired of it. Well, that does not bode well for maintaining and for keeping up, like you said, momentum. So we have to either factor in these periods where we change what type of workout we're doing or directly address the intensity that we go through those workouts.
That's why we get asked, I think as trainers, we get, this idea that we've got to know, all the exercises because we need variety.
Right. Okay.
And to keep momentum going, there has to be some variety for a person.
Yeah.
Very rarely I just take myself for example. I can only stay into a phase of training for so long. Then I'm not saying I get bored of it. I just know it's time to make that switch.
Right.
I know when my body tells me this. It's like, it's time. My brain is clicking. It's like, this is not part of the enjoyment. You need to move on. And I do so quite easily and with no hiccups. But for your clients or my clients, I teach the same idea is stop, change it up, do something different so that you can continue on for the rest of your life.
Right.
And if that means stretching for a whole day, well, that means stretching or mobility for a whole day.
See, I think that's a critical call out because people kind of fall into this trap where they've become dissatisfied with their health and fitness. They know they need a big dramatic change because they want a big dramatic result. And so they get into something that's quite different than what they're used to. They sign up for that boot camp. And like DJ is saying, you can't keep that up the whole time. And so when we come to the end of that, we have to have a plan for modifying what type of workouts you're doing, switching into a different intensity, something that's going to continue your adherence to the routine of taking care of yourself.
Okay. Now, we were talking earlier about this. And how do we get them to change it? And it's easier for our clients to get changed because we're going to do it for them. I'm going to recognize what's going on and what I'm doing for them. And I'm like, today's not the day for that. I'll change this. I'll change that. I'll do my changes for them based on the day. Again, I'll ask them how they doing, or I'll watch them walk in and I can see things and then I'll make my adjustments there. How do we get you, the audience, to recognize when you need that change? Yeah. And we discussed this earlier. It's really hard to know this. Now, for you and me, we have spent years working out and training, and we know when it's time. It's just inherent now. I feel it. I just know it.
Right.
It's time to make that switch. Okay. How do I get my non-client people to do the same thing?
Definitely.
These are hard things to recognize. And one thing that I said to you was this. The person is going to need to be in these type of environments for a significant amount of time to understand their own body.
A certain degree of familiarity is required.
Right.
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years of lifting in different patterns, lifting in different styles, different tempos, different times, and building that knowledge in as they go along.
Yeah.
This is the long stage of learning who you are, what your body's about, how it works, how you're going to feel. This
kind of a period of self-discovery.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And how does that happen? Well, you have to stay within this field. You got to keep working out. You got to keep going back. You got to keep testing and trying and changing things.
Right.
in order to recognize when these moments happen.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, like I told you earlier, as I knew when I had that central nervous system fatigue after leg days, and it took me a little while to figure this out, like 2 years, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I so beat up? I wasn't necessarily extremely sore. I just felt completely exhausted.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I didn't know about central nervous system fatigue.
Okay.
I didn't understand.
It's a new concept.
Well, for me back in the 90s, yeah. And it was like, what's that?
Yeah.
And so when years have gone by and I finally figured out what it was, I was like, okay, I need to make an adjustment on my routine or my rest or my meal or all three of those things in order to not have this, because having that much fatigue on your central nervous system is not good.
Yeah.
So I was learning how to balance that and say, okay, I can be this aggressive, but I'm also going to have to be way less aggressive the next day.
Yeah.
But it took me 2 years to figure this out. And now the other day when I was doing those big ass deadlifts, man, the next day I was reminded, I was like, yeah, you are tired.
Yeah.
My body was tired. And it was that slight
full body fatigue.
Completely done. And so did I do a crazy workout that day?
The following day?
Yeah, the following day? No. Changed it up.
Right.
Change it up. I still moved around to get the blood flow through, but I changed it up completely. I knew, because of experience, when to make that change. Now, you as a client out there may not know this right away. You may not experience this. And then I said to you this, well, how many of them are actually going to work out that hard?
Yeah.
Will they experience something like this?
Good question. So how many fitness participants are actually pushing themselves to that
level?
Yeah.
And then recognize when they need to make a change. Or how many are going to be working out and not seeing a physical change in their body before they need to recognize they need to make another change?
Yeah.
Will they even be aware that the same routines that they're doing are actually not working? And they're like, oh, they're not working. What do I do? I'll just keep doing the same things over and over again. And then that's where they get frustrated.
Right.
How do they recognize that?
That's frustrating. Yeah. Well, if you're doing something and it's...
That's the recognition. If you're doing something over and over and over and over and over again, and you're not seeing any change whatsoever, that's your sign.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
It says, look, it's not working. It's time to get some more information and education so that you can make that change.
Yeah.
That's going to take time.
Yeah, so there is a certain amount of time, basically like the reps. You need to just put in the work to get used to what you can do. I used to call
it TUB.
TUB.
Time under bar.
Yeah. Okay. That's a funny acronym for it.
Well, because it was for me. It was like, well, how much time do I have under this bar? Like and so I just call it TUB, and it's just easy for me to remember.
Okay.
And that gives me that. For me, it's like saying like I'm really smart, man, because I've had a lot of time under bar.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It'd be like a mechanic has to spend a certain amount of time with his hands getting dirty inside an engine bay.
Yeah, of course.
If he's really going to be that well versed at mechanical stuff. And so I think that, as I'm listening to you, first, I think the audience is probably going to want to understand central nervous system fatigue.
Oh, Lord,
if you can explain that a little bit. Yeah. And then they'll have more context on what they're talking about. And then I'll bring it back in to what we're talking about today, which is that idea of how we hang on to the momentum and keep things going.
Okay.
I think this is really important stuff.
Okay. Central nervous system fatigue. And so it's this overload in my body that sends signals and says, hey, your body is now tired, right? So I figured this. Central nervous system figure for me is a complete exhaustion of the nervous system. I've worked it too hard. My body can't recover, and it's going to continue to tell me I can't recover until I take a rest.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can explain it. So if you can explain it better than that in a more simple term, please do so. But for me, it's always been this. It's my nervous system actually being shut down. It's saying you're not going to be able to perform at the level that you want to. I won't let you. I've tried it, by the way. I used to work out after having this the next day, and I would feel the same thing, this complete, utter exhaustion. That's what it really is. It feels like from the head to toe, like you're sluggish.
Yeah.
Like you didn't get your caffeine in you or something. It's just you're dragging all day long.
In spite of caffeine.
In spite of anything. Food, caffeine or anything.
Yeah.
It shuts your system down. It's like the wiring harness in your car. If one of those cables is cut, the signal is not being sent correctly. And so that's what it feels like. It's like nothing's being sent out correctly or fast or as what it used to be.
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah, and so for people like you were mentioning after some heavy deadlifts, maybe we'll put in some footage if you recorded it. When you have these in the context of, workouts, when you have these high exertional efforts where you're either doing, typically heavier load than you're used to, more volume, more duration, something that's extra taxing on your body, then 24, 36, 48 hours afterwards, people will feel these symptoms of central nervous system fatigue, which is basically a way to say, hey, we have this kind of full body sensation of, like DJ was mentioning, tired, sluggish,
lethargic,
a little weaker usually. And it's actually almost like a semi-protective mechanism for your body where your brain has detected how much hard work you've put through, in this case, the posterior chain and the deadlifts. And it knows, hey, if we allow this human vehicle to do a lot more work again today, it can be too much work for us total. So we're going to put like a governor. We're going to put a something that limits how much we can do. And the way that your body communicates that to you is to give you those symptoms, and say, hey, don't feel very motivated to weightlift today because it's not a good day for you to do weightlifting based on what you did yesterday.
Yep. But it took me a long time to figure that out, though. I would go back in the next day thinking I could just, get through it. And this is when I was much younger. So I was much more thinking like, it's just me being, wimpy or whatever.
It's an interesting distinction between us because you had to go through that and then learn about it and sort of recognize what you had lived.
Yeah.
Whereas I came up through the collegiate education and they said, hey, this is what it is. Watch out for it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a good way, I think, for the audience to realize too that they get to benefit from this knowledge rather than going through this kind of trial and error process. So long story short, the reason why it matters now is because if we're going to advocate for people to go through multiple workout sessions, to come back in for additional sessions per week, or to get out and get some physical activity even when they're tired and sore, well, I want to make sure that we give them some guardrails so that they can know when it's too much and when they need to reduce their intensity even further, maybe reduce it all the way to the point of a full stretching session or a sauna workout and then go home. Whatever it may be, I think right now we need to put this message out there because there's a culture of doing the really hard Navy SEAL type workout. And if you can't do that, then you beat yourself up over it. And this is something I see.
Yeah, that could be
I see people who are trying to change their fitness. They fall into this trap where they're like, dude, this is what I should be doing. I can't make it happen. It's my fault. And then they go back in the next day and they try to do something that's just objectively too much.
And it doesn't work.
Right. And it can even work backwards because when you're chronically in that central nervous system fatigue, but you're continuing to push yourself, it's detrimental to the stress hormone levels in your body, literally counter to the weight loss goal that you may have. And so we really want to advocate for this. When you detect in your own body that you need to do less, do a little bit less, but don't feel bad that you have done less. Instead, feel really satisfied and happy that you hit what you properly should have.
You made a smart choice. You really were discerning that this is the time. And
that's it. Yeah.
That's a smart person that knows their body.
And that's where I love that you led off with the familiarity because we really have to make sure that we're being distinct here. We're not advocating for you to just do less and be easier and easier on yourself. There might not be enough stimulus for change if we're not pushing ourselves into that discomfort. And so we have to ride this fine balance of maybe self-discovery and determining how much you can do and just what you can tolerate, but then also not being too hard on yourself when you need to bring that down a little bit.
I'm going to keep this in check, though, with this statement.
Go ahead.
This is not being in the gym scenarios for so long and so many years. I've just witnessed that most people don't really work out that hard to even figure this stuff out.
That's a good point.
And I'm not trying to make jokes here. I just know that most people will preserve themselves to a point. They're not going to go that hard. They don't like to go that hard. That's why they hire us.
It's pretty uncomfortable.
They hire us to push them through those zones and teach them what it's like.
Fair.
But on their own, most people don't really fall into this category where they need to hey, I need to take a little break.
Mm-hmm.
Most people fall into that category in gyms you need to keep going, sir, ma'am. We need to keep the momentum. So there is this recognition of when to back off.
Call
but
out.
This is also known to say, hey, most of them I don't think actually work out that hard. And you don't have to work out this hard to be healthy, by the way.
Right.
It's key.
We're kind of the edge cases on how much we push ourselves and continuing that self-exploration process of just like, wow, what can I do? How many lunges? How many pounds? What can I still lift at this age? You know, that's a thrill that we recognize is not shared between everybody. That's something that might be a little specific to us fitness nerds.
It's just because that's our passion.
Yeah.
This is the passion, and we should be about that lifestyle.
Yeah.
That should resonate with any coach. It's like, they should speak like us.
Right.
Passionate, diligent, wanting to do more or change things and tweak things and always trying to discover.
Right. And it doesn't have to be inside the gym walls, right?
Absolutely not.
A listener could be thinking about this for hiking mileage or how many, whatever swims they're able to do, whatever it is. I think you should try to exceed yourself a little bit. And then, like we've mentioned pretty much this whole episode, realize when you're starting to get those speed wobbles and you're almost going off the road and you need to correct and slow down and maintain, to keep things from becoming a complete crash or a total stop when you have to, let's say change a tire or whatever. We want to keep the car rolling.
This is just a reminder for you folks out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good coaches will push you to how far they need, and then they'll back off when they need to as well. We want you to learn the same aspects. That's what I teach my clients.
That's the important part of today. And so as we continue this talk, I'm looking over at our whiteboard to make sure we cover everything. The real topic today is why you want to keep things going. And we've talked, kind of at length about how to do that because it's so important, right? But why to do it, I think, is its own kind of category. And so the first thing that we have over there is that we recognize as coaches, we have this perspective that it's much harder to undo a loss of health and wellness than it is to regain it or to gain it in the first place.
Or prevent it.
Or prevent a problem, right? And
having it.
Going from some pounds overweight to normal weight is harder than maintaining normal weight. And I know some people are probably listening to that and say, hey, it's too late already. The water is inside the boat. Yeah. And you're saying, hey, keep the water outside. That's easier. Duh. Right. But I'm saying that to people who have a chance. If you're 20 pounds overweight, it's easier to maintain that than it is to go to 40 over and then come back to 20 over. Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And the same thing goes for your strength level. Right. It's so much easier to maintain strength than it is to try to regain strength. Right? Bone density, you might have already, that ship might have sailed, right? You can't go back in time and add load to you when you were in your 20s. So I'm saying make sure that the why to do this is because it's harder to undo or to reverse any of those effects.
We talk about this several times. We're like sort of going backwards.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I think that's important because of the way coaching and training has been talked about for so long.
Yeah.
We're kind of taking it backwards and saying, okay, what's more important is actually whys.
Yeah.
The why behind everything is what you should be focusing on more.
Yeah.
And that's what we see is that you cannot, I will tell you the truth. If I gain weight, the little extra fat on me, even though I'm an expert, like it does take me a little bit longer to get it back off again, even though I am very diligent about keeping myself very well maintained.
Perfect example.
It is really easy now at my age to go off the rails quicker and gain weight because I'm getting older. My body doesn't want to do. Yeah. It's getting there. So I have to be extremely diligent every day to not want to smash cookies and everything. It's like, but even a pound for me,
there you go,
takes a little extra work.
Yeah. And this is,
better
timeless.
Maintain it.
Yeah. Better to maintain it, better to attain it and then keep it rather than waiting and then trying to do an even harder task. And sometimes I think about this kind of like walking uphill. The hill gets steeper the later in life you try to make some health and fitness change. And so the further you are overweight or the worse your blood chemistry is, the harder it is to start to recoup that. And so I'm just thinking of it kind of in a selfish manner. Make it easy for yourself. A big why to do these health and fitness behaviors is simply because your future self is going to appreciate that you gave an easier road.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I think this goes kind of two ways, which is that it's easy to talk about the negatives that we can avoid. And sometimes, we sort of obsess on that in the health and fitness industry.
Absolutely. We obsess on it.
Yeah. the other side of this is there's all the positives that you can have and you can live every single day when you are on the other side of that health and wellness, let's say, goal, right? So if you're at ideal body weight or if you have great strength or good mobility, you get to have no problem parking far away from the entrance, right? Or going up several flights of stairs because the elevator's out of order. You're not going to be tired or out of breath when you get up there. And so that's the kind of thing that if you need even more of a reminder of the importance of why, those are the things that really matter.
We get a unique perspective because I have a couple senior clients that I train.
Yeah, go for it.
This is like, because that daily reminder is I get to see this every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what keeps me going as well.
Yeah.
I get to see what the future looks like at 70, who's Marilyn 74 and Kathy 72.
Yeah.
So they're in their 70s and doing what they're doing now, right, is like my reminder of why we're doing this for the younger crowd that I teach.
It's like a reminder of a prediction of the future.
And seeing what's happening to these ladies, you can clearly see, what we've been doing for them, what I've helped them do, and they've done them for themselves actually, is they've prevented a lot of things and avoided a lot of things because of the work they've done.
Yeah.
And I take that same thing and I say, this is a reminder. And then I go back and I tell all those 40-year-olds that I train, right, this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what's coming your way?
That's
when we talk about your knees, your hips, your back, your neck, your skin, your whatever as you age, right?
Yeah.
So there's my daily reminder to tell the other people in our audience here too as well, is like we get a unique perspective to see what's going to happen if you don't, and we get to see what happens when you do.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, you said it perfectly.
It's when now, I got an audience cheer, dude.
No, that was a perfect little way to put it together, and I love that you bring it all in one piece like that near the end of the episode, because we get to see, like DJ said, we get to see the people who are doing the right things and succeeding. We get to see the people who have tried and what hasn't worked, and we get to see kind of the real negative of the people who have talked to us for a while, expressed interest, but still not made a change. And now years are going by and we're just seeing that gap get wider and wider between what they need to do and what they're currently doing.
Those two ladies know their why better than anything.
Cool.
At their age, we've talked so clearly about why they're doing. I've talked so clearly about why we're doing the things that we're doing.
Awesome.
Like I had Kathy today do Turkish get-ups.
Cool.
With no weight.
Yeah.
Just to move around like that. Well, why would we ever do that? Well, we have our reasons for why we do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like now I can take that same information and they know why, and I can tell the future or the younger crowd that I train, their new reasons why are because of what's coming up. And these ladies, they know why they're doing it. And then wish they could get, they should be the ones on here right now. And we should just insert them right here and they'd be like, I'll tell you why you younger people should be training. They would. That's what they would tell you. And they'd be a great example of why you should be doing something now versus waiting to when you get to their age.
Yeah.
Because if you wait by the time you get to their age,
impossible.
That hill.
And I don't mean to be like dismissive or put anybody down, but like literally you just can't.
I've seen it too much.
Right.
I know.
If you wait until you retire to start taking care of yourself, it won't work in the way you want it to.
No, you're going to be very frustrated. You're going to
have
to have a good coach.
We're in this exact unique position where we can hear from, like you said, an example, Marilyn's, her existence compared to her friend's existence at that advanced age. You get to know it at your age now, and then you get to impart it upon an even younger trainee. I think that's the cool advantage that hopefully this podcast or time spent with a coach can give to any individual.
Well, you and I should be the prime example of what people should be emulating. Like, for physicalness, we should be following these guys specifically. But it's more important that you hear, I think, the testimony of the clients themselves or share their story.
Yeah.
Because that's more relevant
yeah.
to people. It's like, this is your reasons why, not
right.
It's not our reasons why.
Yeah.
I've got different, I have the same reasons why I do those things because I understand what old age is going to bring, but I have a different why at my age why I do it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that people should be, I've spent all this years doing this so that you can say, hey, why are you still doing this, DJ?
Yeah.
It's because I like to play.
Yeah.
I like to have fun.
See, I think that's the great thing about this podcast is that, we have our reasons as professionals and we have our information, but we get to sidestep the industry's reasons. Like, you don't have to have the tightest six-pack, which is what the industry would have you believe,
100%.
because you get to just broadcast yourself. And so our reasons might not be the same as clients and participants, but I think we're one step closer than other health and fit pros who are trying to be that kind of industry standard in the way they are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going down to 8% body fat, dude.
Well, and I don't think we've talked about it at length, right? Like, I don't think the industry should have anybody be motivated to feel that way. Like, I don't know many individuals who are at their healthiest at 8% body fat.
Well, this is that counterculture stuff we've talked about.
I say go check out that episode. We'll put it here. You can watch it. How
frustrated it gets to see every Joe and Jane out there so ripped and cut, and then it's marketing.
Yeah.
And I could go on forever. And it's they're trying to do something it's unobtainable.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic. And it's never going to work with the public. And the fact that they have to have their shirts off and their clothes off to show you how, and it just drives me nuts. It's like they're not smart. There may be smart people. I'm not saying they're not smart people, but they're just doing it like everybody else.
Yeah.
The industry standards are horrible.
Right. And I think that the last kind of nail in the coffin is that for those fitness professionals who are participating in, let's say, that side of it, it's not even in their own best wellness. Like, I think in 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to regret how they live their life.
You would hope so. I mean, to bring up something that just happened.
Well, maybe recently, for example, like if you do enough sit-ups to have that awesome Instagram six-pack, but you're going to have back pain 2 decades earlier in your older age, right? It starts happening to you at 50 instead of 70 because you did so many of these forward flexions. Like, I think that the industry, that standard, that guy's trying to get his own abs to a certain level, he's hurting himself. And everybody who then thinks they should follow is also to their detriment. And so that's where I get kind of emotional about it. So I hope that an episode like today, where you hear us talking about these things, can kind of be that other voice.
Well, we just had a fitness professional pass away.
Oh yeah,
that article that we read about how much.
What was the name? I can't remember.
I don't know why I want to necessarily bring highlight to that.
Okay, good.
But it is out there, and this happens quite a bit actually. It's just
young,
not
unexpected.
Yeah, well, I think it would have been unexpected if someone would have really been paying attention to him.
Yeah.
Or he would have been more open about it and honest.
Yeah.
I think it's because it could be like an addiction. It's like drugs. It's like anything. This fitness world has killed many a fitness professional because of that idea of being so lean and so strong and so professional that the look, they couldn't get away from the look.
Yeah.
And it becomes a real issue. It's a body dysmorphia on the other side.
Yeah.
And so we had somebody pass away in the industry who influenced millions of people.
Yeah.
And yet his own standards were to his own detriment. And I don't want to be callous.
Good example of it.
But this is what we are facing with. We've got so many people out there. And it's like, this guy is a great example. And he was very smart and intelligent, but he was also not living that life.
Yeah.
He was trying to be this model, this perfect perfection of a specimen.
Fitness to the detriment of health.
His own health.
Yeah.
We've seen this in major bodybuilding with the steroid use. Many of these bodybuilders die extremely young because of the overuse of steroids and other supplements that they take. Supplements in quotations there.
Right.
And where's that information? It's it's out there, but too fit for your own good.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Die young or live long and be close to crippled, and not having functional knees because of all the squats and back pain every day because of all these deadlifts. And
this is why I stopped squatting all that stuff and deadlifting all that stuff and doing it, because I recognize the longevity of that stuff is limiting.
It really is a short lifespan.
It is a short lifespan.
And I think, one critical thing, I don't want to go too much longer, but one critical thing while we talk about this is that those high level bodybuilding champions or Instagram models, people who have attention for their fitness level, they're getting. Yeah. Here's the thing. They are getting paid. They're making some money from it, which is, I think, a categorical difference from the quote unquote lay person who's going to the gym for his or her own personal fitness. And so that's where I have an even higher threshold of safety. If you're coming to me for a workout, or if you're following my plan or watching one of my videos, I want you to make sure there's no detriment like that, because we can't afford to end up with trouble in our older age when we're not even at least getting paid for the six pack now. You see what I'm saying? True. And so I think we should be even more careful with ourselves than those idols that people incorrectly emulate.
Well, I think what we're really teaching here is how to be healthy, dude.
Yeah.
Not how to be ripped.
I sure hope so.
If they haven't picked up on the message yet,
yeah,
we're talking about health here, not your six pack, and not how strong you are. So we've talked about this many times. Do we need to hit that last piece there?
I think we can do it in one sentence. You know, the final why. This one hits really hard for us, obviously, because we're health and fitness professionals. So a strong reason why we are so healthy and fit is because it's our brand. It's what we're known for. And obviously that's a pretty broad example, but I think there can be a microcosm of that for everybody. If you're known in your friend circle for being pretty strong, then they're going to call you when they need to move a heavy piece of furniture. Well, that can be a feedback cycle that keeps you doing your health and fitness behaviors, you know, continuing your weightlifting, right? Or if you're known for being the fastest in your group of friends for the cycling that you do or whatever, that can be a why that holds you accountable. And I know that this one will hit home with a lot of people. Fitness as a father, right? Being able to play or to be that, you know, whatever your kid sees you as, you know, that strong protective figure, be fit for that. Use that as part of your why. If that's kind of your brand, you know, if that's what your kid knows you as, live up to that. And if you use it for motivation, if it keeps you going, I'm all for that.
Yeah. I wanted to go into a little side note there, but it's might be to take us past that time. It's just like, it's okay to have a dad bod. It's not okay that you can't perform with your and play with your kids, though.
Yeah.
I advocate dad bods, but I don't advocate this lack of play with your children either.
We'll hold on to that one for sure, because dad bod is like I think no one even is totally confirmed on what that means. Like people listening might not even think of it the same thing as we're saying. It's like, we'll need some photographic evidence of that.
Yeah, that's we'll find some.
Because dad bod has changed a lot, like what it started as, what it means now, what people think. It's all over.
The fact that it's a category was really funny to me.
Yeah,
it's like, it's ridiculous. But yes, even more so for that middle-aged man, you know, who has children that wants, you know, that needs to be playing with them. That's part of your why.
Yeah,
it would be for me.
Right, totally. And then like for some other people, if you're known for being real flexible, and people are like, man, you can't believe it. She can put her head up, like her leg up this high by her head. That weighs into your continuance of your yoga and your stretching, right? And taking care of yourself. And so don't hesitate to kind of put yourself out there and be known for walking, right? Or going on walking meetings with your colleagues. Like that's fine if that's part of what helps you to keep things going. And then you're known for that. And that's sort of that feedback loop. That's to your benefit. So I want to see that happen more often.
Yeah.
And it's something we benefit from.
Yeah. It's like everybody around us knows, like, you know, how we eat, how we live. You know, they're not going to come up to us and like, here's all this candy and stuff. They're never going to come and push it.
That's a great example too.
It's never going to happen.
People don't frequently gift me a lot of baked goods at the holiday times. You know, they know it's not for me, but that's the kind of thing where it keeps things going. So it definitely matters.
Yeah. In fact, we have to be the brand. And we've talked about this extensively, how you and I have to have a certain look and ability because it is our brand. If we're going to be this passionate, we should be able to perform this passionate too. Yeah. So how long has it been?
Great call out. We're almost to 40 minutes, so we're doing pretty close.
Yeah, that's good. Let's wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up. So? Yeah, we'll call it. We'll play our music out, and then you want to do a little outro for us?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Go for it.
Man, it is hot in here.
Yeah.
I'm sweating. Dude.
Check out the thermostat before you leave.
So our episode 17 was just a continuum of 16. That's how is 16 and why what we do was 17. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about momentum and how to continue with this and how to keep it going. We talked extensively about, central nervous system fatigue, which is something that, we probably didn't think we were going to get into, but it's knowing when is too much.
Right.
When to take it back.
Yeah, that's why
recognizing how far you need to take it.
Yeah.
We also talked about how long this may take you. Well, it's going to take some time. You have to be in the mix. You have to be doing things in order to sense this. We also talked about maybe you don't even need to be there in the first place to have health.
Yeah.
And why? Our daily reminders. How important is it to you? We talked about bone density, needing to have it, and waiting too long to get it done.
Yeah.
Versus doing it now. 40 pounds is going to be much harder to take off than 20.
Yeah.
Learning how to maintain, and then finishing off with brand.
Yeah, being known for your health and wellness can be beneficial for you. And if that's part of why you keep things going, use it. And so I think that's a great recap. And as we go through these episodes, you know, if you ever hear something that you want to know more about, something that you wish we'd go more into, don't hesitate to make yourself known. Send us a message or comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And of course, as we always try to remind, share the podcast with friends and family. Even if you just send one part of one episode, maybe we can spread out and get some more audience.
Cool.
Sweet. See you next time.